Hi, I'm Matthew, and I'm from The Critics, and this is not only the first solo review that The Critics is ever doing, it's also very excitingly the first Durban International Film Festival 2016 review that we're doing, and it's the first 2016 Durban International Film Festival movie that I've been able to see. So, the film that I saw at DIFF was Action Kommandant, which is the story of Ashley Kriel, who was an MK fighter, a resistance leader amongst the youth in the Cape Flats, and who died at the age of 20 in 1987. It's a documentary, so it's not a biopic. It's put together by the experiences and stories of Ashley's friends and comrades, and even later on we get to hear some words from Desmond Tutu. And it really looks not just at his story, which I think is an amazing story and a story that ought to have been told a long time ago, and he really is an unsung hero, and it's an important story that we need to hear. But I think very importantly it also deals with so many other issues that we deal with in South Africa. One of them is definitely have the ideals that were alive during the struggle and during the resistance. Are those still alive? Are we still fighting for the same ideals? Do we still stand for the same ideals? It looks at why the Cape Flats became so violent, and gives a very seldom, unfortunately very seldom seen look into what was the motivation behind that. It wasn't as was portrayed by the National Party at the time. Violence for the sake of violence, violence for terrorism. It was much more than that, and had a lot more meaning. And I think, this is an incredible film. I think that if you are South African, you need to watch this. If you are a fan of history, you need to love this. If you are a fan of the parts of history that don't get showcased in textbooks or turned into BBC documentaries, this is the sort of film that you need to be watching. I think it's very well put together. I think it deals with so many issues, and there's so much that can be taken out of watching this film. I think it's very well shot. It's got a very nostalgic feel to it. In the instances where there isn't film that can be used, animation's used, and is used very well. I think the music is very good as well, and it fits in with the story that's being told. And yet still feels very South African at the same time. So, if I were to be very critical of it, I would say that maybe it gets a bit slow in some places. I think it maybe draws out some issues a little bit, and potentially doesn't deal with all the themes, if you will, as well as it could have. But they're complex themes. There's a lot of them. I think if all of them were developed fully, I think that something would have been missed, or it would have become a bit too stiff. And I think that if during the times where things are going slow, for me it was a really good time to reflect on not only what I was watching, but what I had just watched. This is more than just this is someone, here's Ashley Kriel and here's what he was like. The characters that get interviewed, or the people that get interviewed, are in and of themselves incredibly interesting, and could have documentaries made just about them. And provide very interesting insight, not only into Ashley Kriel, but into their lives under apartheid South Africa. So, incredibly highly recommended. Action Kommandant is showing on the 21st of June at the Elizabeth Snedden Theatre, on the 23rd of June at Musgrave, on the 24th of June at the Maharani, and lastly on the 26th at the Playhouse. So that's plenty of time for you to get up there and watch it if you haven't already, and please support. And then lastly, very excitingly, Nadine, the director of Action Kommandant, was at the screening last night, and so I managed to get a hold of her, and here's a very quick interview that I managed to do with her. Why Ashley?
Yeah, why Ashley? Because I had heard his name, and when I saw the archive footage of him for the first time in 2005, 6, about almost 10 years ago now, I heard him speak. It really struck me, his passion and his charisma. And so I thought, why has someone like this been largely forgotten, not spoken about? And that just led me on this journey of trying to find out who he was. And I think that's really what the film is about, who was Action Kommandant. Yeah.
And then the film also deals a lot with the ideals and the ideals of the movement and Ashley's ideals. Do you, and it asks these questions of whether those ideals are still around. Do you think those ideals are still around? Are they getting lost?
I think, for example, like in the film, you'll see that the first time Ashley led anything of a political nature was because there were not enough textbooks in his school, and he was 13 years old, and that angered him, and then there was a big protest around that. And it's sad that, you know, in these recent times, people are still protesting for textbooks, still protesting for free education. I mean, they were protesting against gutter education at the university. We are now still protesting for free education. So those ideals, they still live on, but it's also sad we're still fighting for them. But I think the spirit still lives on in that we're still fighting, you know, we haven't like laying down and accepting it, you know. So last was the student uprising, I think that spirit and of his comrades as well, was just alive.
And then last, and where to for you after this?
So after this, Action Kommandant has a late entrance acceptance into the Grahamstown National Arts Festival.
Cool.
So that's where to next. And then where to for me, well, trying to get the film into different avenues, and I think and I really like to try fiction because I got into film because I enjoy writing. So we'll see. Yeah, look at ideas.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Again, if you're going to see a film, this is incredibly highly recommended, top-notch film. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you've liked it, please click like and remember to subscribe to The Critics. Please go and check out the Durban International Film Festival. I'll put a link to their website in the description below. You can see more from The Critics at our Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. I'm losing track of everything we have. All in the description below. I'm Matthew, and this has been The Critics' review of the Durban International Film Festival 2016's Action Kommandant.